Hey there, Juan Morales here, and in today's episode we're going to talk a little bit about something I like to call the possibility scale. And this is something that's very useful for any entrepreneur out there, any person that's actually trying to achieve anything, because this scale literally shows you where you are belief-wise when it comes to a particular endeavor. And the scale goes like this: impossible, possible, probable, likely, and then certain is the last one. Okay? So let me repeat that. Impossible, possible, probable, likely, certain. So here's what happens. When we execute something, and we do it enough, and we develop that expertise, we are getting closer to that certainty point. That's why when you're talking to an expert or someone who's very, very good at their stuff, they know they can get it done. Like when one of my clients comes to me about something to grow their business, I know it's going to happen. I know how to do it. And I don't have to know what it is I'm going to tell them. I know it's going to come out because of that certainty that comes from doing it many times over. But many times, what stops us is that we have these beliefs in the way that make us think it's impossible for something to happen. And I'll give you a clear example of this. A couple of years back, I was running this coaching program and I had a call with a potential student. And in that program, it was an income generation program. So in that program, I asked that person, how much do you want to make per month? And they said $20,000 a month. And then I just kept quiet. Then that number went down to $10,000 a month without me saying anything. So I just stayed quiet a little bit more. And then that same person just decided to go to $5,000 a month. Now, the truth to me is a lot of things happened in that interaction. So the first was, after this happened and the person told me $5,000, I asked him, how much did you want to make when you were 5 years old, 10 years old, whatever the number was? And he said some huge number, right? $100,000. I don't even know what the number was anymore. But it was a huge number. And what happened was, through life, through the imposition of other people's beliefs, this person had been convinced from whatever the age was that he got started that he couldn't make that. And he got convinced to the level that even when I asked him how much you want to be making, and he started with a high number, because he wasn't getting any feedback from me, he started putting that number down. Now let me ask you, how often do we stop doing something or we stop believing something just because we're not getting that little bit of feedback? That doesn't make it unreal. That doesn't make it impossible. Nothing really happened when it comes to that. But what happened was, we're standing at the beginning of that scale. We're standing in the impossibility to possibility gap. Because we're trying to figure out if it's possible to even do it. And that's because we've been indoctrinated. From TV shows, from radio shows, from anything you've heard, parents, family, friends, we've been indoctrinated to think that certain things are possible and certain things are not possible. And that happens everywhere. Now, the thing to understand is that once you decide that it is possible, because someone has done it, that makes it possible. If someone has done it, that means it's possible for a human to achieve it. Now, you may not have all the things that you need for it, but that's a different story. But the thing is to go from impossible to possible. Okay? So that's the first jump. Then the next jump is to go from possible to probable, which is, how do you create the conditions that make achieving that goal a lot more certain? Okay, what are the resources that you need? You can't start building something if you require materials that you don't have currently. So that's the next thing, right? And that's what goes from possible to probable. Then we go from probable to likely, which are, how do I get the right team with me? How do I get the right people to come in? How do I talk to the right experts? Who do I talk to that can help me move that from possible to probable, and then from probable to likely, and then ultimately from likely to certain? But the point is, so many times in life, we stop doing something because we don't believe that it's possible anymore. And if it's possible, maybe we don't believe it's possible for us. And that all has to do with that scale. So when it comes to asking yourself anything about something that you're tasked with or something that you're trying to do, ask yourself, how do you really feel about it? Do you really feel that it's impossible? Do you feel it's possible? Do you feel it's probable, likely, or are you certain that you're going to get it? And I guarantee you that it is in those things where you are certain that you get the best leverage. It's those things where you are certain that you can get a result, where that confidence exudes from you. That's the easiest things to sell. Because if you're trying to sell something that you're unsure of, your prospect's going to know. But when you're selling something and you're dead centered, and you're convinced that you can get them a result, you are certain of that, you are certain that whatever task is put in front of you in this area of your life, you're a master at, which means that you're going to figure it out. That's what you need to be doing. But more importantly, always remember that you've been indoctrinated, like I have and like everybody has. You've been indoctrinated since we're very young kids to learn certain traits, certain beliefs about money, beliefs about worth, beliefs about status, beliefs about other people. And it is those beliefs that usually get in the way. But once you can tell in what part of that scale you're stuck in, then you can figure out how to get to the next one. If you think it's impossible, you need to look for an example that makes it possible. If you think it's possible but not probable, you need to look for the resources that you need in order to make it probable. If you think it's probable but not likely, you need to look for the people that can help you achieve that in a way that makes it likely. And if you're going from likely to certain, that's the action stage. That's when all these resources, everything else is going to click into that. And that's where your own experience comes in. Because you do it. And the more you do it, the more certain you become. That's why when you learn to drive, chances are the first time you were in the car, you were looking at everything, you were thinking into everything, right? Putting the clutch down, changing gears. Whatever the action was, you had to think consciously of it. But after a while, you got used to it, and eventually you're talking to someone else as you're driving, and you're not even paying attention to the actual movements that you're doing, but everything seems to work. That's that point of certainty. That's that point of things being automatic. And that's where you want to get to in your own life and in your own efforts. So remember, when you're stuck, look at where you are in the possibility scale and figure out what it is that you need to get to that next step. Till next time, this is Juan Morales signing out. I'll see you on the next one.